Hello guys, Steven here. Now in this video we are going to talk about mapping APIs. Now this video is meant for anyone who is interested in learning using maps in their applications, using maps in their website, using maps generally, and then being able to take more advantage of mapping platform beyond the ordinary use, and then go or dive deeper into having more more capacity, or having more control of what they do with them. So our topics for today will look at mapping APIs. We'll try to define mapping APIs. We'll look at examples of mapping APIs, and then we'll take various mapping APIs into consideration. We'll look at the pros and then the cons. Then we'll finally look at what a good mapping API is. So a mapping API basically provides the necessary code base and tools for developers to build location intelligence applications. So when we talk about a mapping API, we are talking about basically look at something in a whole, and then you are just taking a part of it. Okay, so when we talk about a map or a mapping API, we are talking about, when you talk about a mapping API, we are talking about routing. We are talking about base maps. We are talking about place search. We are talking about street view. We are talking about geocode. We are talking about everything that the map has to offer. Now, we can't define a mapping API without talking about what an API. An API basically refers to application programming interface, and application programming interface is a way that offers developers to be able to build their apps on top of this API. So when we talk about an API, we have various types of APIs. We have payment APIs, we have search APIs, we have location, places APIs, you have weather APIs. Okay, so we have news APIs, and then all that. So basically developers offers access to their code base, so that you can extract the portion that you need into your own application. So you should then understand what mapping API is. So mapping APIs provide the code base, okay, for executing performing various tasks like search, routing, geocode, and then all that, and then you pick what you need and then use it in your own application. Now we can look at various examples of API. So in this scenario, we'll be looking at Google Map, we'll be looking at Arcgis, we'll be looking at Leaflet, and finally we'll look at Mapboss. Now let's start with Google Map JavaScript API. So it enables you to create real-time experiences with the latest maps, okay, routes and places features from Google Maps platform. Okay, so Google Map offers maps, it offers routes, so direction, navigation, and then it offers places. So I think these are three key strengths of Google Map. So of course everybody likes their base maps because it's everybody likes their base map, and Google Map finds its way on every Android platform, and it's the first map, or is It's a map that most people are used to. And so whenever you build an app for anybody where a client where you use maps, their first consideration is always Google Map. And then it's maintained by the Google team. Now let's switch to their website. So basically this is the official Google Map platform site, and then maps, routes, places, all these things are offered on the Google development platform. So whether you are building with JavaScript, so you are building a mobile web app, you are building a web app, or you are building a native Android, native iOS, or they have all of that. So they have all their APIs and then SDKs available. So if you are coming from the pure native platform or the web platform like myself, then they have everything. So when you check their documentation, they have documentation on all their APIs and platform, and then other things they offer. So when you go into the JavaScript API, which is my concern, they have a well-documented structure. And so this is where you can find all the information, and then you have options to use, either TypeScript or JavaScript, and in your development. We are not going into the details of these two. Now, Google Map, as I have already indicated, is the most popular mapping platform. Okay, so their mapping platform in general finds itself its way on almost every device, whether mobile or web device out there. Now they have 200 million plus businesses and places. Okay, so one thing about Google Map is that it allows collaboration. Okay, so people can put their businesses on Google Map for free and be discovered or searchable. And this makes it ideal when you want to build a place search or business search kind of application, or even a navigation kind of application, because people become more familiar or become more confident with your map, the map they are using, if they can see most of the places around. So if I am driving to somewhere, I expect to see most of the places I see on ground on the map, and that is the strength of Google Map. And it's best for startups and small businesses because of this pay-as-you-go plan, where you only pay when you exceed the quota. In my own opinion, most startups and small businesses may never exceed that quota or get to it. I show you the documentation is well documented, and then in my experience, I've tested it with several front end technologies, and also mobile hybrid framework, which is my strength. I've tested it, and then compared to other mapping platform, I think their API almost works on almost every front end, and then mobile or hybrid framework cross platform. Okay, now for the cons, it requires payment or card before you can get started. So if you need to finally publish your app or take it out there for people to use, then you have to connect with your card. Even if you are never going to get to your quota or reach it, you still need to connect your card, which I think sometimes people find it quite uncomfortable. Okay, so the platform, which started as a free platform, has gone up, and then it's costly for large user-based projects. So I know that Bolt and then Uber pays a ton of money to Google to use their base maps. Okay, and I'm sure that is why these two ride-sharing apps are popular, the most popular, especially in my part, because people enjoy the fact that if they need to get to any place, then they should be able to search most addresses and then find them. So now, enough with Google Map. Let's move on to Arcgis. Now, the Arcgis API, it's maintained by Esri. Now, Arcgis is the trade name for Esri. Esri started as an environmental company, and then they are now, a strong contender in GIS. And they have a very robust, platform for desktop GIS, mobile GIS, and then web GIS. And Arcgis, has its own community of users. Now, Arcgis, the thing about Arcgis is that they try to make the platform so simple. Arcgis in itself is not open source. Okay, so for people who subscribe onto the platform, they try to make things so easy, so that anybody who is even non-GIS can easily learn and then get used to the platform. Their map API, it's not different. Okay, it's not so different. I think, in my own opinion, it's one of the easiest, of course, that you can get, especially if you come from a GIS background. But of course, even not coming from a GIS background, you can still get started with it. Now, let's take a look at their website. So they have a developer platform, that's developers.arcgis.com. Okay, and you can create a free developer account and even deploy your apps if you are not charging people to use your map. Okay, so they have a developer platform, and then they offer various APIs and then SDKs and other location services and then tools. And Arcgis stands out in terms of being a one-stop shop. Okay, so you can get your hands started doing everything, okay, mapping and location without needing plugins and then third parties. So they have their platform is well structured. So you have web APIs, you have mobile APIs, you have native and desktop APIs, you have these app builders, and then so on. And I've tried my hands on some of their APIs. Apart from the web, I've looked at the mobile, the native, and then all that. Okay, now I use the JavaScript most of the time, but they also have integration with Leaflet, Mapboss, and then open layers. Okay, so they are growing and they are extending, and then I like its strong data centric approach. Okay, so when you are looking for a platform, a mapping platform, mapping API to connect with your data, or if you are looking for a data centric kind of application, then I would recommend that for you. Let's check out their pros and then cons. Okay, so they do have a generous free tier, for non-revenue apps. Okay, so now once you use their API in your application, or even the SDKs in your application, okay, you can register for a developer platform, and then you have access to all their API rates, or you have access to their online platform to their desktop applications and then all that. And then you can even deploy your app and then you don't have to pay, so far as it's free. But once you have to charge people for using your map, okay, or using the API resources, then you have to convert it to a licensed or a paid license. Now they have ready to use samples to get you started. Okay, so when you visit their website, you can just pick various sample codes and then test them. Okay, so you can just pick sample. They have sample codes for direction, routing, for place search, for analysis, for everything. Okay, so you can just pick these samples and test them to get you started, and then when you want to get deeper and build more advanced tools, then you can go more into their API documentation. So I've talked about the documentation, and then the fact that it's best for data-centric apps. Okay, so if you are kind of building an app where your users will interface with lots of data, so stuff like maybe land search apps, house search apps, if maybe voting, so many stuff. Okay, basically what I mean to say is that when you want to get more meaning from your data, okay, then Arcgis has all the necessary tools and then resources for that, and then it can be used in with other existing Arcgis apps. Now, compared to some other platforms where you need to employ a developer to build, let's say, a dashboard for your app, build another maybe app for data collection, build another app for this and for that. Okay, so you can just concentrate on maybe building your main app. Okay, so if let's say you have an app, you want to build an app for reporting incidents, reporting hazards, and then so on, you can just go ahead and use the API to build whatever you want, and then you don't have to worry about where your data goes to, because with the Arcgis Online, you have an account where you can publish and then store your maps data, and then also you have dashboard and other applications that are already built in the Arcgis system, and so you can take these apps and use them directly in connection with the app that you have built without having to get additional hands or developers to build additional applications for that. Now, in terms of its disadvantages, I think I don't like the fact that the API it's so heavy, and in most cases loading in data, even opening maps and stuff can take some unnecessary time. Okay, especially in internet constrained areas where you want things to load very fast, blazingly fast. It doesn't work well, and I've had complaints from some clients who will be like, the map loads slow and then all that. So I think it's something that I would be happy if the Arcgis team can really work on that. And they have their own base maps, which doesn't have a lot of businesses compared to maybe Google Maps. And I think it's one reason is that Arcgis seems to focus more on data analysis, spatial analysis, basically you having your own data and trying to make meaning out of it. Okay, unlike Google, which focuses more on businesses and then place search. Okay, so maybe that's the reason why they've not invested so much into gathering data. And then in some cases you may need prior knowledge on the Arcgis platform, especially the online, to be able to do certain things. Now the next API we'll be looking at is the Leaflet JS. Now Leaflet was started by Vladimir Agafonkin, who joined Mapboss in 2013. So he's currently an engineer at Mapboss. We'll look at Mapboss as the last API. So he's currently at Mapboss, and then I think his whole idea of Leaflet was to come out with something so simple, straight to the point, and then you don't have to worry yourself about pricing, about licensing, about so many unnecessary stuff, especially if you want a simple map, something that you can extend or customize without having to worry so much about things that doesn't really go with you. So Leaflet is just like about 30 kilobytes in size. Okay, so it loads very fast, and you can extend it. Okay, so it has other third parties and plugins which you can use to extend. And if you are good, you know what you are doing, then you can take advantage of Leaflet, because Leaflet, like I said, just focus on mapping and using maps in your mobile and web apps, and ignores all the business aspect, like pricing and license and then all that. Okay, so we check out their website, and you realize that it's very simple. Okay, so that's the Leaflet website. It's very simple. Even the website is very minimalistic. It just focuses on providing you what you need. So that is the overview. Okay, so you see how everything is laid out, so simple. And despite that, it's used by large organizations. Okay, all these people use it. So they have some tutorials to get you started. You can start with very basic tutorials, and then you can extend it. Okay, so I like Leaflet for its extendability, the fact that it gives you full control. Okay, full control to do so many things, and you can extend it features without any restrictions. So the documentation just focuses on basic map operations. And don't get it wrong, don't underestimate it, because I've seen Leaflet do more powerful things than what you can just see here. Okay, so the documentation here gives you an idea. You are using a very simple kind of mapping API, but it has more to offer, especially when you use it in conjunction with other mapping APIs and then other technologies. Now let's go back and then look at the pros and then the cons. So it's fully open source, and it's light in weight. Like I told you, it weighs just about 30 kilobytes. Once you get the CDN for CSS and JavaScript, you are good to go. It's very developer friendly, and so it's ideal for developers who want 100% customization and they want all their freedom. It's mobile focused. Okay, so it's mobile focused. So it's cool when you want to build mobile apps with them. Then it also connects with other mapping platforms and APIs like Google, Arcgis, and then Mapboss. So for the cons, I think it's overly simplified, and so when looking for a powerful mapping API, sometimes it gives you an idea that it doesn't really have so much of. And I think that was the first thing that came in mind when I was introduced to Leaflet. But over the years, I think I have seen more than what I expected. And then in most cases, it may require some third-party plugins, which for more advanced features, which sometimes could be a pain in the neck if you don't know how to work with them. Now finally, let's look at the last mapping API we'll be discussing for today. That is Mapboss. So it's precise location data, and it offers powerful developers tools to change the way we navigate. So if you are looking for I mean, stuff like navigation, fleet management, planning, routing. I mean, Mapboss is there. I like their, I mean, base map. I think it's cool, looks very nice and sleek when used within your apps. And I think they offer, I mean, generous pricing options. Now, not to talk so much, let's switch to the websites. And then now the first thing that struck me about Mapboss is, I mean, their website. I like the website. I think it's cool, and Mapboss seems to be on their toes, releasing new features almost every day, and offering, I mean, powerful features to developers to change the way they build apps. Okay, now it's also used by several companies. Okay, so Facebook, National Geographic, and stuff, they all use it. And I like the fact that it provides, you know, great routing engines. Okay, so like I told you, if you need 10 by 10, I mean, directions within your app, if you want to do routing, navigation, like, you know, those core things that you would expect in every powerful, I mean, mapping API. I think Mapboss have you there. It's the latest, I mean, mapping API I've tried, and I think I'm loving it. They also have the Mapboss Studio for people who don't want that core development, and they just want something they can customize to build something interesting. The Mapboss has you covered. Now, you may struggle at first glance trying to navigate your way around their website, and I think it may have to take you a bit of time. Now, one other thing is that it works on token access. Okay, so you need to register an account and then get a token, okay, before you can use their map. If not, you won't be able to do that. So so they, like some of the mapping platform we talk about, offers SDKs, APIs. Okay, so depending on where you are coming from, whether you want to build core native apps for Android, iOS, they got you covered. And then if you are looking at building web apps or cross-platform, mobile hybrid apps, then like myself, then they also have you covered. Okay, so this is a very simple demo application, and I think it's cool. I'm sure you love it, right? The interface, the color combination, it's simple but nice. Yeah, simple but nice. You need an access token, like I told you, and then you can try your hands on a basic, and then you need to provide your access token before you can get the map working. Now, let's look at the pros and then cons. Now, it has a free tier, and I think their pro options, it's even cheaper, compared to some paid mapping platforms or APIs. And you can use it without paying anything, as so far as you don't exceed the quota. They also have quota limits on their pricing plans. Let me show you that. I think let me show you that. Okay, so they have pricing options. Okay, so where you can, okay, so when you exceed certain operations, then you can pay. But I think like I told you, you can use most of these things as a startup or a small business without having to pay anything at all. I like the fast loading. I think it's because of the general, how the map loads. Okay, I think it's great. It's great for people who want smart apps, okay, where they don't have to worry about loading time. And trust me, it can be very embarrassing if it takes a while for users to view your maps. And I like the documentation. It's extensive, okay, so you may have to take some time to study it out and then try it out. And then it's backed by large organizations, Facebook, National Geographic, just to name a few. Now, for the cons, I think it has a steeper learning curve, okay. So like I told you, I mean, some of the mapping APIs have demonstrated, okay, once you visit the site, everything is self-explanatory. But I think for Mapboss, you may need to take some time and just try and then navigate and get familiar with it. And then once you get used to it, you know what you are doing, I mean, it's no longer, I mean, difficult to move your way around, okay. So what makes a good mapping API? First is simplicity, okay. So you want a mapping API which is simple in its design, something not so complex, okay, something you can get your hands started with, especially if you are working on a project and then you all of a sudden have to implement a mapping feature. I've seen people like that who are like, hey, I have a project but the client needs a mapping feature and then all that, and then what is the best to use. And then so if there's an API which is simple and good and great, then you can go ahead and use that. And then documentation, okay, the first thing you may want to once you get a bit used to the API, you may want to take some time and study the documentation and see more to that or more advanced stuff that you can do. And I think of course you would want to consider one dashboard document. And then also community, okay, so how do I get support? Do they have community platforms where I can seek help? Do they have blogs I can read? I mean, can I go on Facebook and get very good video content and then all that? Then you also customization, because with time, as your application is growing, then it's possible that client may want to request for additional features. And then once the API enables you to do that, to integrate with other platforms and stuff, then you know you are good to go. If not, you find yourself in a bottleneck, which I don't really recommend. So guys, thank you very much for being part of this video. I know you have learned a lot, and then I would encourage you to share and then subscribe if you've not. Hope to see you in another video. Bye.